Blink-182 are more than just a pop-punk band. They're an icon. They are fresh off their 10th, yes, 10th album, but I've seen the sentiment being passed around that nothing will ever surpass their 1999 release, Enema of the State. Maybe even you, dear viewer, have listened to the newer Blink album and thought, nothing is as good as Enema. Why can't I move on? Who says you have to? Nothing compares to Enema of the State because nothing could ever be like Enema of the State. Don't get me wrong, because it's great to be in a time when Blink-182 is relevant again. Tom is Back, One More Time is well received, and one of the top Billboard albums of the year has a masturbation joke in it.
What is the first line?
It's the perfect time for you to put on your nostalgia goggles, for me to wear my rose-colored glasses, and for us to take a look at the pop-punk album of all time. I hope you will allow me to get a little hyperbolic in this video, maybe even a bit romantic. And if you disagree with me, then I hope you'll at least see where I'm coming from and get an understanding of why so many of us put Enema of the State on such a high pedestal. And after that, I hope you'll just tell me in the comments which albums you think are better, because you can make compelling videos in this vein for any Blink album, but those videos aren't going to be made by me, because in my opinion, it won't ever get better than Enema of the State.
Enema bags. That's what I model enema bags. And today we're modeling one for the album cover because we might call it Enema of the State. That was pretty good. That was pretty good, huh? Hey, that's a good. Hey, where's Mark? Hey, Mark, let's name the album Enema of the State.
Let's start at the beginning, in 1805 when Beethoven first performed Fidelio before its final version in 1814. And then let's fast forward immediately to the early 90s when the genre was evolving from something described as unlistenable to a sound with broader appeal, covering topics that attracted the youth like flies to shit. Less about being anti-political authority and more about anti-parental authority, finally there was punk music for the philosophically clueless listener like me at the time. The Descendants and NoFX had laid the groundwork, the Offspring smash and Green Day's Dookie lit the match, and the question was, who is going to ride the pop-punk explosion that followed? And I know there's going to be some contention about Dookie being the actual match that lit the powder keg, so let me give credit where credit's due. Dookie is massive, a phenomenon. Somehow this California punk band teased us with single after single, each one somehow as good or better than the one before it, before dropping Dookie on the world and bringing punk rock very much into the mainstream with a cleaner and more melodic sound to boot. But there was room to inject even more pop, even more hooks, even more youth into that sound. Well, in 1999, and I say this with love, it would be two jackasses of dubious musical talent, plus Travis Barker, who would stumble into the studio laughing like Beavis and Butthead, and somehow, against all odds, leave that studio on a fucking rocket ship to stardom. How? Well, they also left the studio with a little album called Enema of the State. Produced by Jerry Finn, who also made Dookie, by the way, Enema of the State was the lightning in a bottle that couldn't have come at a more perfect time. Blink-182 were the musical equivalent of those teenage comedies, and Enema of the State stuffed that into bite-sized and catchy as hell pop-punk bliss. They could have just released the album and rested on their laurels, but instead they kept doing everything right. A massive, popular music video making fun of pop culture at the time? Done. Taking advantage of every MTV opportunity you get? Done. Not taking yourself seriously? Done.
We were more about
Disgusting
jokes,
Bad
and
music.
Bad music.
Sure, their concerts may have been filled with 12 to 16-year-olds, but they didn't let that bother them. They knew their audience, and they were proud to be connecting with that younger audience. They met parental disapproval with absolute glee and shit-eating grins. Tom, Mark, and Travis could shrug off any naysayers or disgruntled punks who hated them, laughing all the way to the bank. An album doesn't go 5 times platinum without having 1 or 12 great songs in it. Although they aren't my favorite songs on the record, there's no denying the importance that the 3 lead singles had on the band's success. One of them, in my opinion, is the sole reason why this album gets a pass from real critics. You read about this album and there's always talk of its immaturity, misogyny, moronic jokes, you name it. Enter Adam's song, the saving grace for everyone to be able to say that
amidst the dick jokes and sexism, there's a real introspection about how fleeting youth is. Enema of the State has a real sense of maturity underneath the surface.
See, Kerrang, I misquoted you in a mocking tone, so your point is invalid. But yeah, Adam's song is great, and it's a nice change of pace from the absolute breakneck speed that the album was going on up to that point. At the height of my "it's not a phase," I was subconsciously on a journey to find music that captured my feelings and emotions that only a 12-year-old could experience. And the first song that I heard off the album, although I didn't know its name at the time, was All the Small Things on the radio. And I fell in love with it immediately. The melody, the vocals, the na-na-na-na-nas, the guitar, it all just clicked for me. And I remember being distraught that the station didn't tell me what the song or the artist was, so it just disappeared into the ether after that. I listened to the radio intently for the next few days, hoping that the host would announce the song. And finally, I heard, "Up next, All the Small Things" by Blink-182. Boom, I had it. I asked my dad to buy the song for me on iTunes, and All the Small Things was added to my very small playlist on our computer, including It's Tricky, Harder to Breathe, Lose Yourself, and Let's Get It Started. A little bit later, I would burn the entire album from a friend and discover something groundbreaking. Sometimes, entire albums could be good start to finish. Up until then, every album I'd ever heard front to back on my dad or my uncle's CDs had songs that I didn't care for. Songs about Jane had snooze fest love songs, but on Enema, every song was great. To my surprise, there were even songs on here that were better than All the Small Things. Can you imagine? I mean, why was All the Small Things always on the radio if it wasn't even the best song? It still hadn't sunk into me that music tastes are subjective. I mean, it's a hard lesson to learn, and some people never learn it. By the way, my channel has not met the requirements for monetization, so YouTube takes all the money from the ads that you may see on this video. Liking, subbing, and watching other videos on my channel would be a massive help to change that. Thank you. When people ask what my favorite song is, on any album really, I have an undeniable urge to pick something surprising, something out of the mainstream, the deepest cut I can think of. It's a problem. It's a need to feel special. I'm working on it. But seriously, the deep cuts in Enema of the State are absolutely stacked. If you go just by Spotify plays, the deepest cut is Wendy Clear, with a measly 21 million plays. But that shows that even the world's least favorite song on this album is still great. My personal favorite song on this album is Anthem. I have an affinity for Tom's songs in general, but I've always loved this one especially. As a kid, I barely understood the lyrics and what they were saying, but the last word in every verse was punchy enough that I felt cool singing it. What angsty kid isn't going to be sold by Tom belting out the line, "You don't belong"? Even if the lyrics don't hit as hard now, I love the structure of this song. It makes you wait a full 90 seconds for the chorus, and the pseudo drop between the pre-chorus and chorus hypes me up every time. Combine that with the non-stop chaotic drumming in the verses, there's a reason this makes it on my all-out cardio playlist. But keep going down the list of songs, or up if you're going from Anthem, and there aren't any songs that I skip. I'm not going to stand behind every single lyric, but holy hell, every song is catchy, perfectly paced, expertly produced. That's a massive reason this album is the pinnacle of pop punk. Jerry fucking Finn. To get a couple of knuckleheads who were just as concerned about writing joke songs as they were about real songs to sound as good as they do is shocking. Imagine how easy it would be to write off Mark, Tom, and Travis at the time. Sure, Dude Ranch did okay, but were they really worth going the extra mile for? Were they really gonna be the next Green Day? Even they didn't seem to take their music that seriously. Thank God for Jerry Finn, and for the Blink-182 guys for taking it seriously too. Imagine a world where the songs are pretty much the same, but the performances are half-hearted, where the vocals sound unprofessional. It would be a mucky, sloppy mess. Some people would like it, maybe even prefer it, sure, but it wouldn't have sold like gangbusters to the general public, and who knows where pop punk would be now as a result. Of course, Mark and Tom were famously inspired by Travis Barker's insane raw talent and mastery of his drums for this album. Tom has called Blink-182 a vessel for nursery rhymes on drugs. Well, Travis Barker just doubled the dose for the band on Enema of the State. With his signature fills and unmistakable speed and energy, there's no denying that Barker elevated the band and even raised the ceiling for what Blink-182 would be capable of in the future. Even if Enema isn't Travis's best work, even if he isn't the best drummer in the world, the album would not work without him. Travis rounds out so many big moments like here in Adam's song, leads in so many interesting beats like the skank beat in Party Song, and that's just when you're listening. Watch him live or in music videos, see the power and the energy that he puts into his performances, and and you'll understand why he influenced so many people to copy his style or even want to play drums in the first place. For Blink, Travis joining the band was like Babe Ruth joining your Little League team. The other teams didn't stand a chance. In Enema of the State, Mark and Tom showcase how they're the perfect front boys for the band. Blink-182 is one of those instances of dual vocalists, but a rare example of ones who complement each other so perfectly. Mark has the deeper voice of the relatable everyman, while Tom is a bit whinier, often singing and speaking in a one-of-a-kind dialect that is only his own. On this album, it's very much one or the other. There aren't any songs where Mark does the verses and Tom does the chorus, or vice versa, like something you might hear in I Miss You, or most recently in Fell in Love. Of course, Tom isn't really absent on Mark's songs, and Mark isn't absent on Tom's songs. They're always in the background harmonizing, doing some na-na-nas, or playing guitar or bass. In Enema of the State, there just doesn't seem to be any pressure to give both of them a big moment on every song. Call it a personal preference, but I really enjoy the specific vocal ownership of these songs in Enema of the State. There were Mark songs and Tom songs, and it's always fun to figure out which ones I like more. It's also funny to me that they each have exactly 6, like it had to be absolutely fair. This could have been an early sign of the tension that comes with trying to share the spotlight. For me, Tom's songs on Enema barely have an edge, but barely. Even though the songs are split 50-50 with the vocals, they still have cohesion and flow together nicely. It's not like Tom is singing jazz and Mark is singing country. Mark, Tom, and Travis all feel like they're on the exact same page in this album. In their later albums, you could definitely feel the Boxcar Racer and Angels and Airwaves creep. I'm not saying that to detract from Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, Untitled, or even Neighborhoods. I just think it's interesting to note when talking about Enema of the State how cohesive it is, truly a singular project for the band. It is a miracle that Blink kept making successful albums after Enema, since they were so ingrained in youth culture at the time that 1, they were aging out of, and 2, wasn't going to exist in the same way anymore. Sure, now in 2023, Blink may have released a #1 debuting album with One More Time, they're selling out arenas, but man, nostalgia sells. People who were fans when they were teenagers now have some disposable income, but they used to be everywhere. Now they're enjoying a little resurgence, but not in the same ways that 1999 to 2004 had, where they were a phenomenon, and it's never going to be that way again. Immature potty humor isn't in style, it's not shocking in a good way anymore. Even as someone who likes the new album, it doesn't touch Enema in my mind. Enema sounds timeless. They sound like 3 dudes in a room making music. And that's never gonna sound dated. I feel that some of the effects and post-production choices that Blink made in One More Time aren't gonna age very well. Or maybe Tom has spent so much time obsessed with aliens that he's starting to sing like one. But it's only been a week. So what do I know? Let me know in the comments what you think of Enema of the State or any Blink album, and if you want some more pop-punk related content, then I will see you over in this video right here. Thanks for watching.